Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's Abacus Next Free Training Tuesdays webinar. This week, we're going to be focusing on the basics of the document assembly feature within Amicus Attorney. My name is Darren Juby, and I'm a product trainer here at Abacus Next, with my focus being the Amicus Attorney product line. As always, if anyone has any questions at all during our session today, please do feel free to utilize the questions field here in GoToMeeting, and time permitting, we will get to answering them towards the end of our session or, depending on how things flow, during the session itself. Now, of course, as always, please do include your email address, and that way, if I'm unable to get to answering your question in the time allotted to us today, then I will happily follow up afterwards to provide you with the information that you are seeking. And so now, without further ado, let us begin discussing and demonstrating the basics of document assembly here within Amicus Attorney. Now, before we begin today, folks, just a brief agenda on what we're going to be covering over the course of the next hour here together. We're going to take a look at what is document assembly. From there, we're going to take a look at some firm settings that apply to document assembly. From there, we will take a look at preferences that apply to document assembly and what each user must do to configure their preferences at their workstation so that they can take advantage of these features within Amicus Attorney. Now, after we've done all of that, we're going to proceed with demonstrating how easy it is to generate a document within Amicus Attorney. From there, we'll cover over the basics of creating a new document template, editing a document template. We'll briefly touch upon custom fields on your templates. We'll also briefly touch upon how you would go about deleting a document template. And time permitting, I'll try to provide some additional tips for you guys as well. And of course, any questions that you guys may have asked during this session, if we haven't answered them already throughout the session, we'll try to get to answering them at the end. Of course, time permitting. So with all of that being said, let's briefly touch upon what is exactly document assembly before I get rid of my nice little splash screen here and we delve into Amicus Attorney to take a deeper look at all of this. So to begin with, like I said, let's talk about what is document assembly. Well, it's a process that automates your document production. It's very similar to a mail merge. Amicus Attorney uses a template that contains merge fields within it to pull information from the Amicus Attorney database and merge it into a finished document. Amicus Document Assembly works with Microsoft Word, Corel WordPerfect, and HotDocs. Now, for the purposes of today's webinar, we're going to be focusing on Microsoft Word, and in my particular case, I'm using Word 2016. So with all of that being said, let me get rid of my nice little splash screen here for us. And as you guys will see, I am indeed logged into Amicus Attorney here now. And so we're here in the Office module, which of course from any of our previous webinars or training sessions, you guys will note that by default, when we log into Amicus Attorney, we are taken to the Office module, unless of course we change our preferences to have it direct us somewhere else. So given that, I have not changed any preferences, so here we are in the Office module. And the first thing we're going to look at together is something that only us administrators within Amicus Attorney will have access to. So for those of you who may have taken a new user overview session with me or any of our other trainers here at Abacus Next for Amicus Attorney, as well as the billing new user overview, you will have heard us mention that when we log into Amicus Attorney, if we are an administrator, over here in the navigation panel on the left, us administrators have an additional area here titled Administration, and in there we've got user management, firm settings, security profiles, custom pages and records, new file intake management, the import feature, and firm reports. Now, during today's webinar, we're going to take a look at some things within firm settings. So let's go there together now. To do so, of course, as administrator within Amicus Attorney here, we would, using the navigation panel on the left here, in the administration section, we would click on firm settings, like so. Now, the first area of importance that we need to look at in regards to document assembly is, of course, here in the firm settings. And so this is something that your administrator, or if you've got multiple administrators within Amicus Attorney at your firm, then you would need to go to one of these individuals to have this taken care of. And what our administrators need to do is go in here, and under Documents, select Management like so. And of course, just to reiterate, firm settings are indeed only available to the administrators within Amicus Attorney. And when we're talking firm settings, these are global or firm-wide settings that will affect all of our users. So this is something we only have to come in here and set the one time, and it's going to affect all of our users for us. And as long as we've done it properly, we will have no worries when it comes to this sort of stuff. And hopefully, this session will help you guys in that regard. So, once we've opened up the Firm Settings Documents Location dialog here, as you can see, we want to take note of this particular area right here. Now, we do have some other things here in this Document Management Firm Settings dialog as well, such as our configuration for our document management system, and of course, our email attachment types. Now, I'm not going to be spending much time on either of those entities during today's session. What we really want to focus upon is in this middle section right here where we see document templates. So this is where our document assembly templates path will be located. This path must be a UNC path, not a mapped network drive. Now, easiest way to input the path, you can either type it in here, or we could click the Browse button to find it. We're going to do that together in a moment, but before I do so with you, I want to stress a couple of things about this particular path, and in most cases, the UNC part here. So as you'll see, it's 2 slashes, the name of my Amicus Attorney application server, which happens to be trng-aa20, / document assembly templates. Now, this folder is created at the time of installation of Amicus Attorney, the document assembly templates folder that is, and it is shared out at that time as well, so that all users should be able to access it without any issues. Now, if you're not 100% sure on the name of your Amicus Attorney application server, the easiest way to do this is to go to the Browse button here like so, and click upon it. And when we get this Browse for Folder window, what I like to recommend to people is don't necessarily go to this PC option. Now, whether you're on the server or at a workstation doing this should not matter at all. If we navigate down here to the Network section, we want to expand that, and then from there we would scroll down the list until we find our Amicus Attorney application server. So there it is right there, trng-aa20 in my case. So I select that, and then expanding that, you'll see all the shared folders that are on that particular server. And lo and behold, there's the document assembly templates folder that I mentioned earlier. So I would select it like so and hit the OK button. And as you will see, my path has now been populated accordingly. And of course, at this point, much like any other firm settings dialogues and or preferences dialogues within Amicus Attorney, we can click the Apply button here to save and apply these changes but keep the dialog open. We can click the OK button to save and apply these changes and close the dialog, or if we've made a mistake or if we're not yet 100% sure on whether we want to proceed with something or not, we can simply press the Cancel button, and in doing so, it will discard any changes we've made here, it will not apply them, and it will close the dialog accordingly. Now, I'm going to hit OK, or I'm going to hit Cancel here, because my path was indeed set correctly already, so I don't need to make any changes at this point, but I just wanted to show you guys the workflow and the easiest way of making sure that this path is set correctly. And of course, I would have needed to click Apply and or the OK buttons to take care of saving and applying those changes and closing that dialog properly. So now that we've talked about the firm settings side of things, we've now had the administrator side of things taken care of. Amicus Attorney is set up for all of our users to take advantage of the document assembly feature that is built in. However, there is a couple more steps that each user must now do at their workstations to be able to take full advantage of all of this. So let's go through that together now. So again, let's navigate to the Office module. We'll go to the home screen here. And now all of us, whether we're an administrator or not within Amicus Attorney, will have these options up here in the upper left, such as Home, Preferences, Reports, Merge Templates, the Help Center, the Open Another Office feature, and of course, the Open Tutorial feature. Now, each one of us Once we're at our actual workstation where we're going to be sitting and doing our document assembly sort of activities and such within Amicus Attorney, once we've logged into Amicus there at our workstation, we want to go to our preferences like so by clicking on it. And then from there, we want to look over in the document section, and we're going to take a look at document assembly preferences. As you can see here, default generation method and app paths. So let's click on that and take a look together at what we need to do here to set up document assembly for ourselves, but let's also spend a little time discussing what is in here so that hopefully all of you will have a better understanding of what's here if you're not already sure of what all this is. So like I said, we've already taken care of the firm setting side of things. We now have to focus on the preferences side of things in regards to document assembly. And while I noted earlier as well that firm settings apply to all users, I just want to reiterate that the preferences must be configured for each individual user. Now, a couple of precursors to this portion of our webinar as well. Users must, and I can't stress the must part of this enough, have a supported version of either Microsoft Word or Corel WordPerfect. Now, if you are not 100% sure as to whether or not your version is indeed supported, please do refer to the hardware and software requirements for Amicus Attorney, which can be found in the Technical Resources Guide section of our website at abacusnext.com. Now, as well, just an added note here, click-to-run versions of Microsoft Word are not supported. As well, please do note that it must be a 32-bit version of Microsoft Word and or Microsoft Office that you are using. 64-bit versions are not supported for any integrations such as email integration, contacts and calendar synchronization with Outlook, and document assembly with Word. Now, before we begin this next phase, you should always ensure that either Word or WordPerfect has been closed prior to proceeding. And of course, you want to make sure it's functional as well. So you may want to open it up, make sure everything is good, and then close the program down. If, of course, you haven't already done that before getting to this point. So now that all that is out of the way, like I said, we would log into Amicus, we navigate to the preferences like we've done here, and under Documents, we would select Document Assembly, also like we have already done here. So the first step here is for us to select our default generation method. And our choices are as follows. So here in step 1, you'll see I've got a drop-down menu. And within that drop-down menu, the choices I have are MS Word Mail Merge, that's for Microsoft Word. WordPerfect Merge, of course, is for Corel WordPerfect. And then you'll see we've got a few Hot Docs options here. We've got Hot Docs with MS Word in brackets. Well, that's our Hot Docs and Microsoft Word combination. We've got Hot Docs with WordPerfect in brackets. That's Hot Docs and WordPerfect. And of course, we've got Hot Docs Forms. Those are Hot Docs form templates. Now, what this setting determines is which format any new templates that you may create will be created within. And something to note as well here, folks, is that if you have both Word and WordPerfect installed, as an example, you can generate either type of template as long as the configuration has been completed. So if you do use both products, that being Word and WordPerfect, and you want to be able to create templates for both, well, if you're creating Word templates, just make sure that you come in here and set this to MS Word Mail Merge. If you're going to create some WordPerfect templates, come in here and make sure that you changed it to WordPerfect Merge. That's it, that's all. But you do want to make sure that you do that. Otherwise, you're going to be creating templates for the wrong word processing application potentially. So do keep that in mind, folks. Now, for the purposes of our webinar today, given that I'm using Word 2016, we're going to stick with using the MS Word Mail Merge option, like so. Now, the second step is to install the Merge toolbar. And we do so by clicking the Install button here, like so. And so as you can see here, folks, the Amicus Merge Toolbar Install Shield Wizard quickly appears, and you see a progress bar there, and then we get our little Install Shield Wizard here. And so again, let me just move this over to make sure everybody's able to see this nice and clear. So from here, it's really simply a couple of mouse clicks to install the Amicus Merge Toolbar. Just like this. We're going to click Next. We're going to click Install. I feel like I should have some Jeopardy music in the background for us here, folks. My apologies on that. And now you'll see here is our progress bar, and voila, our installation of the Amicus Merge toolbar has completed. And we simply need to click the Finish button here like so. So that's 2 of the 4 steps completed. So far, so good, and really not too invasive of a process or too arduous at all. So let's continue taking a look at what else we must do in here. And do note that the Install button has now become an Uninstall button. So we know that the toolbar is installed, and I can very easily uninstall it from here by simply clicking the button, or I can go to the Control Panel, Programs and Features, and I will see Amicus Merge Toolbar listed as one of the installed components on my system, and I can simply uninstall it from there as well. So the third step now is where we go to confirm the paths to our word processing applications, such as Word, WordPerfect, Hot Docs, if applicable, of course, and Adobe Acrobat Reader. Now, once this has been completed, we can then proceed to install the Amicus Tasks toolbar. And we're going to go through all of that here together now. So I've already taken care of the Adobe Acrobat Reader stuff here, as you can see, and we're really not going to focus a lot on that during this session today because, quite frankly, we don't really do anything document assembly related when it comes to Adobe. So therefore, we'll skip over that for the time being. And what I want to show you guys is the easy way of taking care of the population of something like Word or WordPerfect here. And again, because we're using Word in my particular examples here today, we will populate the Word field like so. So what you guys can do is click on the Browse button. And like I mentioned earlier, this must be a 32-bit version of Microsoft Word and or Microsoft Office. So given that I am running in a 64-bit version of Windows, that means that I get 2 Programs Files folders, as you can see here. One of them is just Program Files, the other is Program Files with x86 in parentheses. We know, based upon a quick glance, that the x86 one, that's where all of our 32-bit applications will be installed and will reside. So, given that I need to be 32-bit on the Microsoft Office and Word side of things, I'm going to go into that Program Files x86 folder. There's my Microsoft Office folder. Some of you may need to scroll down to get to that. Depends again on how much you have installed on your particular workstation. And if I go in here, well, I am using Office 2016, and there is the Office 16 folder. So if I go in there, I simply need to scroll down towards the bottom of this folder, and voila, there is winword.exe. That is the application for Microsoft Word, or the executable, if you will. So I can either select it from the list here and click Open, or I could simply double-click on it. The usual Windows Explorer type of features here. So I will select that, and I will click Open, like so. And so now my path is populated, as you can see, to the winword.exe application file. And so now at this point, and this should be showing install at this point, I apologize, but I will click on this button, and like I said, it should be showing me install right now. I'm not sure why it's showing remove. I can't seem to replicate that anywhere else, so I will have to do some digging on that later. But in the interim, I've clicked on the install button, and now you'll see I've got the Amicus Attorney Tasks Toolbar Install Shield Wizard. And again, we've got a couple of mouse clicks to take care of this. So I will simply click the next button. Doesn't matter which selection I make there, whether it's everyone or just me, that's personal preference. So you can leave it as the default or whatever you want to do with that. But then you click next. We click next again. And once completed, we get the installation complete message here. And we simply click the close button like so. Now the fourth and final step is to confirm that the document assembly templates path is indeed correct. It should be the same as what the administrator had set in firm settings, like what we did together earlier in this webinar. And as you can see, mine is indeed set accordingly. It's /trng-aa20/document assembly templates. Now, in the event that this wasn't the correct path or I wasn't 100% sure, what I can do is I can click on the Browse button. And again, I want to go down to Network, expand that, find my Amicus Attorney application server, expand that, and then select the Document Assembly Templates folder and hit OK, like so. And voila, my path has been populated. So now I can either hit the apply button or the OK button to save and apply these changes. And of course, apply will keep my dialog open, whereas OK will save and apply those changes and close the dialog. And something else to mention, folks, any preferences or firm settings dialogs where you see that defaults button and it is available to you, what you can do is you can click that button to restore all these settings here in this particular preferences and or firm settings dialog, whatever you happen to be looking at with that defaults button. When we click upon that, that restores everything to the default or out of the box settings, if you will, and we'd have to reconfigure all of that. So if you ever need to get everything back to the way it was, for instance, you're not sure, but perhaps you don't feel that you did this properly, you can always hit that defaults button to go back and start over again. So we're going to hit the OK button here for me to save those changes and apply them. And then what I always recommend to people is once we've completed any of these sorts of steps, we should log out and log back into Amicus Attorney on our workstation here to make those changes take full effect, whether it's any links or anything along those lines. And in this case, especially because we've installed some toolbars and we've got everything ready to go for document assembly. So what we would do is simply go to the File menu and say Exit, like so. And then we can double click on our Amicus Attorney icon here. And we click on the login button, unless, of course, we don't have our password saved, and then we would have to input that. All right, and now we are logged back in to Amicus Attorney. And we'll just hit OK on our Amicus announcements window here. All right, so now that we've covered the setup and configuration steps, excuse me, for document assembly from both firm settings and the preferences, and we've since logged out and back into our Amicus Attorney workstation to ensure that our changes have taken effect, well, now it's time for us to take a look at actually generating a document together here. So let's begin by generating a simple letter to one of our clients. And there's a reason that I'm doing it in this particular workflow, folks. We could go to the Files module and do the document generation by me simply selecting a file and clicking on my Generate Document button, or one of the other options that I've got available to me here, such as right-clicking and selecting the Generate Document option. I could go to the Actions menu, select Generate a Document, or if I'm a keyboard shortcut fan, I can hit Control-D. As well, I could open up the file, and I could click on the Generate Document button here, or again, I could go to the Actions and Generate a Document, and again, I have my keyboard shortcut, Control-D. Now, I'm not going to do this from the Files module, and there's a reason behind that. I can also do it from the People module here. And again, same ways. I can select my contact, I can right-click, select the option to generate a document. I can click the button up here to generate a document. I can go to the Actions menu, generate a document, hit Control-D, and of course I can open up the contact and click the Generate Document button here as well. Now again, those are a multitude of ways that we can go about doing this. I'm simply going to select my contact in the list here, and I'm going to click the Generate Document button like so. And you'll see that the first thing we receive is this Generate a Document dialog here, where I need to go through and select which document that I would like to generate. Well, we'll do a nice simple one. We'll go to the Letters section here and expand that, and we'll select Blank Letter Word. So let's say OK to that. And you'll note, and this is part of the reason that I'm doing it in this particular workflow, just to show you guys, if I had done this from the file, well, it already knows which file I've selected. But in this case, I'm doing it from the contact. And because this contact is associated to multiple files, you'll see that I am being prompted to select the file in which we're generating the document in reference to. Well, I'll do so here by selecting the Costanza versus Vandelay Industries file, like so, and click OK. Yeah, I apologize for the latency on my system here, folks. It should be going a little quicker than it is right now. It normally does. So again, my apologies on that front. But as you can see here right now, Microsoft Word is opening up. The template will then open up, and then the data is merged into a finished document, as you see here now. Now, I want you guys to take note that Amicus does prompt us with what we want to do with this particular document. We can save it as a document and associate it to an Amicus file. We can save it as a document and add it to Amicus as a library page. We can save it as a document but not associate it to an Amicus file or library page, or we can select the option to simply not save and not add to Amicus. But I want to show you guys something else. I can take this prompt and just move it out of the way like so a bit. Now, this is not the template that we're seeing here at this point, folks. This is the generated document. So I can go in here and I can add some body to the text, or I add some text to the body of this letter if I so wanted to do so, just like that. I could also inflict some formatting changes if I so wanted to do so. And then, of course, once I've completed any final edits that I wanted to make to this particular document, again, whatever I've done from this point forward affects the template in no way whatsoever. Let's do the save and associate to Amicus here together, just again, so we can all see that workflow together. So I will leave my selections as such. We're going to add it, save it, and add it to a file. So we'll say OK to that. And I'm just going to go and find a location to save this. So we will say that this is GC blank letter Word, and it's 2019. There we go. So I've saved the document locally to my C drive here at the moment. That's just me saving a copy of it locally so that I can now have it added to Amicus Attorney. Now, please do note, folks, I'm using Amicus Managed mode for my document management here. So what happens is that whenever I either save and associate an existing document, or I generate and create a new one and then save and associate that particular document, it must be saved locally on my machine or wherever it happens to be saved beforehand, of course. Once I've saved and associated the document into Amicus Attorney, however, because I'm using Amicus Manage mode, it's going to take a copy of that document and put it in the same central location that all of our other documents are here on the Amicus Attorney application server, so that we can all access these documents at any given time. I won't delve too much further into that side of things, because we could take up a good chunk of this webinar just going through the document management stuff, and well, that'll be a webinar topic for another day. Actually, Tuesday, May the 28th, we're talking about document management basics. So we will get into that at that particular time. So to harken back to what we were already talking about here, here is the document details dialog. You'll see that we've got the title of the document, and what it is it simply takes the title of the file that we've saved, in this case the docx file in Microsoft Word for that blank letter we just generated, and it takes that and puts it in the title. But of course we can change that. So I could put George Stanza blank letter demo, or something along those lines. And of course, we can take a look at the document groups. We can add some summary notes here if we want to. We can check our file and contact associations as well as our firm member associations from here. And of course, please do note that much like everything else within Amicus Attorney, whether it be files, documents, contacts, whatever the case may be, events, if you're not an assigned firm member on it, you will not see it and or not see the details of it. So if you want additional firm members to see it and they're not in particularly associated to the file that you're associating it to, you can come in here and add additional firm members. Now, please do note, if the firm member is assigned to the file, they'll be able to see the document on the file. Of course, you can associate events here as well. You can add some notes if you wanted to, and because I'm using Amicus Manage mode, I do get the option for document versioning. Again, we won't spend a lot of time on that. That's more a part of the document management basics webinar that we will have later on in May. So with all of that being said, Here's our basic document detail dialog. We've saved it. Let's click OK to complete the process here. And so there's our completed document. It's now saved and associated to our file in Amicus Attorney. And watch what happens when I go to close this document. Again, because I'm using Amicus Manage mode, folks. You'll note that when I go to close this particular document, I receive this prompt from Amicus Attorney. This document is currently checked out to you. Do you wish to check it in now? Well, yes, I do. So let's click yes there. And so now my document is associated to both the contact and the file. So if I open up Mr. Costanza's contact record here, if I look at documents here on the Brad or the control panel on the left, I get the documents Brad view here, and there you'll see that document that we just added. Now as well, if I go to the file, well, there's my Costanza versus Vandelay Industries file. If I open that up and take a look at the control panel here on the left of the file details dialog, I can click on the documents option here, and you'll see and here is our documents here, and let me go to the My Documents view so we get a better look, and there is the document that we just added. And of course, by double-clicking upon it, well, there's those document details, and like I said, it copies the document over to the server and keeps it in the location specified, and therefore, there's the path that we can use to access that particular document file itself as well. So let me just cancel on that and save and close out of here. And so that, ladies and gentlemen, is just how easy it is to generate a document within Amicus Attorney. So now that we've covered, So now that we've covered generating a document, we've also covered the firm settings and preferences side of things. Let's now quickly move along to creating a new document template. So every firm member has the ability to create and modify templates, unless, of course, they've been restricted from doing so by the security profile that's been applied to them. If you find yourself unable to do any of this, please do speak with your Amicus administrator to discuss or resolve further. Now, to begin with, again, we're going to be starting in the Office module. Surprise, surprise. So we log into Amicus Attorney, or we navigate back to the Office module, however we need to get there. And of course, if our preferences have us going somewhere else when we first log in, then again, we must navigate to the Office module like so. And once we've done so, like I said earlier about the preferences, all of us have these options available to us in the upper left. So we can all come in here and click on Merge Templates, like so. And what we get here now in the Template Management dialog, folks, is a list of all the document template groups. Think of these as file folders for your templates. And of course, you've got different types. We've got some accounts, we've got business development, corporate or commercial, email templates, fax cover sheets, file reports, general practice, litigation, letters, and you will also note here in the letters grouping, for instance, folks, we've got some blank letter templates, but then we've also got some templates for Avery labels. So while the program itself doesn't come with an included envelope template per se, what it does come included with, and of course if these don't match the Avery labels that you use, well, you could use these as templates to create one that does, or have our professional services team take care of that for you, of course. But what you'll see here is we've got different sizes of Avery labels, such as the 5160, the 5161, 62, 63, 66, and so forth. And you'll see that there's one of these templates for each Word and WordPerfect, respectively. So if you happen to use the Avery Labels 5160 size for your envelopes, well, you would simply use this particular template to generate a document. You would put that Avery label sheet in your printer, and then there, excuse me, this is already formatted for that size so that everything would print out accordingly on those labels for you. Now, let's start together here by showing you guys how to create a new template group, and then we'll get into creating a brand new template. And judging by our time here, we've got about 25 minutes left here, give or take, folks. So I'm going to try to go through this as efficiently as I possibly can without skirting over too much. So, like I said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new template group in here. And to do that, we simply click on the new group button like so. We're going to call this webinar for the purposes of our session today. So we've just created a new group for our templates. So now that we've done that, I'm going to show you guys how to create a new template within this particular group. To do so, you select the group here like so. I could select any particular group, but I'll select the one we just created, the webinars group. And then from there, you click on the new template button like so. So we'll click OK on this prompt to enter a template name. And as you can see here, folks, I have to give it a template name. So we'll just call this blank test 001. And you'll note that it is being created within the webinar group because I selected it. Now, of course, I can select this drop-down menu and I can change the group that I want it to be saved within. But we'll leave it in our webinars group, and there is multiple reasons for that, as you guys will see as we move along. Now, as well, I've got options here for this template is for generating a document, an email, or I could select both. We're going to keep mine as just a document to keep it nice and straightforward. And as well, this template is available for use by all firm members or the following firm members. Now, what I usually will recommend to people is while you're creating a document assembly template, it's probably best practice for you to come in here as you're creating it, select the option here, the following firm members, and select yourself, like so. This will restrict the template from a visibility and usability perspective so that only you are able to see and use it until, of course, you've completed creating it. And there's underlying logic behind why I suggest this sort of workflow, but the main reason is you don't want to leave something out there that's perhaps half completed, or you still got a few little tweaks to make to it and you're not 100% sure that you like the resulting output just yet. Well, with that being said, somebody else within the firm may not know that you've even been doing this, and they may just arbitrarily select that template and use it. And while we all know what can happen when people go ahead and, presume that everything is okay to go ahead and use, unwitting to them or unknowing to them, they've selected something they shouldn't have, and it could go off the rails from there. So if we can avoid those potential pitfalls, it's always a good habit to do so. So I've selected the option here to restrict this just to myself, and we'll click the Create Template button here now like so. And of course, this is going to create it in Microsoft Word because of my setting and my preferences earlier. So as you'll see, it's opening up the template for Word for me, in Word for me, I should say. Okay, so you'll see that Microsoft Word is now open here for us. And this is as good of a segue or as good of a time as any for me to show off the toolbars here as well, folks. Because the add-ins tool or the merge toolbar, we don't see all the time. Only when we're editing or creating templates. Whereas the tasks toolbar, we see that at all times. So here in the add-ins on the ribbon of Microsoft Word is where we find our Amicus merge toolbar. And so what I could do is I can click on the select fields button here like so. And let's say that I wanted to put my firm name at the top. Well, then what I would do is scroll through this list here. Oh, there's firm information right there. And let me scroll through here. There's my firm name right there. So let's insert that. And I could say close on that. And what I can do from here is I can say let's center that. Let's make it 48 there. And let's change the font up and we'll use Calibri like so. And then from there I can go here. I could perhaps change my font size a bit. And perhaps here I want to put the firm address. So again, I would come in here to select fields, my firm information, And oh, here we go here. Oh, that's firm member. Firm primary address, as we can see. I'll select that. Okay, so then let's do that. And now this time, perhaps I want to put some different information in here. So again, I would go down like so, firm information, and I would go through and select what I want. Perhaps I want to put the firm's phone number in there. Well then, let's go down here, firm primary phone. There we are right there. And then perhaps I want to put the fax number right after it. And then maybe I want the web address and our email address there as well. So I could do something like that. And then from there, I can add some additional information. And let's go here and just take a quick look. You'll see that we've got people basic information, people addresses, people communication information. Any custom fields that we've got on our contacts, well, that'll be found in the people custom information section here. File basic information, extended fields on files are people on the file basics, people on the file addresses, and so forth. File custom information, that would be any custom fields on your files and so forth. So let me just use an example here. We'll select people communications, for instance, and as you can see, I have the options there available to me. Or perhaps I go here and we say people basic information, and I could grab the client's first name and put that into the letter. Again, there's no limit to what we can do. It's just a matter of selecting the right field and proceeding from there. Again, I don't have a lot of time to go through the whole process with you, but you get the idea. I'm hoping, based upon what I've shown you here, it's really the same process each and every time we add a field, obviously. Now, the one thing that I want to mention here, folks, is when you've created your template and it's time to save it, well, Amicus already triggered the creation of it and the file naming of it and so forth. So don't go to the File menu and select the Save As option. I can't stress that enough for you, folks. If you do that, you've just wasted a lot of time on your template, essentially, because it will not save it as a usable template type of file. So, because, like I said, Amicus has triggered the creation of this document template and so forth for us, all we simply need to do is click the little Save icon up here in the corner, or we could go to the File menu and select Save. We just don't want to do the Save As option. So with that said, folks, I'm going to quickly save this. Again, not the greatest template example, but an example enough to show you guys the basics of it. So from here, let me just close this. And you'll see within our webinar group, there's that new template now. Now, I would be remiss here if I did not show you guys something else, and that's how to create a template based upon an existing document assembly template. And so let's quickly do that here together. So in doing so, let's go to our letters section here, for instance, and I'm going to select my blank letter Word template. But I'd like to create a variation on that. If I don't want to ruin this one or change it up, if you will, depending on how you want to look at it, that could be ruining it. So with that being said, I will select the template here, and I will click on New Template. And you'll see this time I get this prompt. Do I wish to create the template based on the selected one? Well, yes, I do. So I'll click Yes there. And now I get the same prompt as earlier. Please enter a template name. So I'll say OK on that. And we'll call this blank letter 002. And we'll make sure to put Word in parentheses here for ourselves as well. And you'll note that we can also select the group we want it in. Let's put it in our webinar group like so. We'll leave it as a document, and let's put it to just myself for now, like we talked about earlier. And we'll say OK to that, and now let's create this template. So this time, folks, you'll see that Word again opens. And unlike the last example where we created a brand new template from scratch, well, this one is creating it based upon that existing template. So it's already got those fields populated for us. And from here, I can just simply make some tweaks, or I can add additional fields or whatever the case may be. So for instance, perhaps I go here and I'll use an example here to show you guys the custom stuff. Not that I have a lot of custom fields, but there might be something in here. If I went to File, Custom Information for Section. for instance here, you'll see that I now have to select the file type, because we all know with our custom fields, if it's strictly on a file type, or on a file I should say, it's all based on file type. Where if it's on people, well, it's just across the board on our contacts, so to speak. And I'll show you that in just a second. So as you can see, I would have to select a different file type here, and then from there, I would see the available custom fields for that particular file type, and I could simply insert one like so. Now, I'm just going to get rid of that and show you one other, what I was talking about here. If we go to the people custom information, well, you'll see that I don't have to make any additional selections. And in my case, unfortunately, I do not have any custom fields on my contacts, so I don't have anything to really show you here. But again, I just wanted to show you guys the workflow. And then once I've made whatever changes I wanted to make to this particular template, for instance, I probably wanted to change, we'll change the font there, and I'll make this bigger. We'll go 26. Sure, and we'll go here and make that Calibri as well. And we'll do the same for those there. So there, I've made a few changes to that. Looks good. We'll make this bold here as well. Looks good. So I will save my template. And I will close it here like so. And voila. I now have those two templates we just created. The blank test one, which was a template from scratch, and we created this one based upon an existing template. So now that we've talked about how to generate them, we could do it, or how to create them, I should say. Now we already know how to generate the document, so we would simply select that particular template now when we generate a document. So now let's talk about how we would edit our document templates. So and this is a nice segue to what I talked about earlier about restricting the templates to yourself until you're ready to have them in use for everybody. So what you could do is click on the edit button here like so by selecting the template, and we could simply change it to all firm members now and say OK. And now that template is available to all firm members. Now, I've already talked about the custom fields on our templates. And so the last thing I want to talk about before we wrap things up here, folks, is deleting a document template. So we're going to do this in a couple of ways. So the first example I'll show you here, we can simply open up the document template by clicking Edit here, and I can click the Delete button like so. Or, let me just cancel that. I can simply select it in the list and click the Delete button like so. And again, you'll note that I get prompted to delete the template file as well. If I don't select that, I'm simply deleting it from the list here. The template will still exist. Okay, so there's that. And now you'll see that I simply have that. But if I go to the group itself, I can also delete the group like so. And again, I get prompted to delete the templates within it. And voila, we have done that. Now, if anybody has any questions about any of the stuff that we have covered today, by all means, please do feel free to submit those in the questions field now, and I'll be happy to answer those. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions coming through at this point. If you guys do have questions, though, that come up afterwards, if it's something like, where do we go to find this recording for review? Kelly, this recording will be found on the webinar section of our website, abacusnext.com. It will not be up there this afternoon, most likely, but I would say by tomorrow or mid to late or by the end of the week at the latest, this webinar will be up for viewing on the webinars section of our website. Oh, you're quite welcome, Kelly. Anybody else have any questions at all before we wrap things up today? All right, folks. Well, like I was just about to say, if any questions come to mind after the fact, which happens to all of us, you might be driving home and think, why didn't I ask that? By all means, feel free to send an email to training@abacusnext.com, and I'll be happy or if it's not myself, one of my colleagues, we would be happy to field and answer any questions that you guys may have. But it does look like we've reached the end of our session for today here, folks. I want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your busy days, your busy schedules for attending and participating in today's Abacus Next Free Training Tuesdays Amicus Attorney Document Assembly Basics session. Next week, we hope to see you all for our session on Amicus Attorney Reporting 101. And I want to wish all of you a very wonderful rest of your day, week, and weekend to come, and a happy Easter this weekend as well to all of you.